Hey everybody, welcome to JLB Sports TV. I am Justin Block, and first I'd like to apologize for not totally completing the World Cup series. We had some editing issues, took a long time to get out the video, so we had to do a reduced top 10 version. But in today's episode, I will be discussing and looking into the future ball of United States men's soccer. Now let's just look at the players. In 4 years at World Cup 2014, Timmy Tourette's-Howard will be 35, Donovan will be 32, and Dempsey will be right there with him too. Some minor guys like Benny Feilhaber, who I thought quietly had a very good tournament, will be 29, and most of the defense will be in their late 20s and early 30s. Whether Howard, Donovan, and Dempsey, the key players for the U.S., can be effective into their 30s, I don't know, but goalkeepers usually have a much longer shelf life than midfielders. Now on the positive side, Jozy Altidore, our star striker, will be 24. After his disappointing World Cup, I now have the new phrase, Jozy Altidorean, which means anytime you don't finish in any situation in life, you are Jozy Altidorean. Now, we all know that finishing comes with age, and hopefully in 4 years he will develop that finishing skill. Right now he's got the speed and strength to be a good striker, and I was very impressed by his holding ability during the World Cup, but he just made poor passes and really poor decisions on the ball throughout the tournament. By the 2014 World Cup, at age 24, he should be in his prime, and whether he can find a side next season, though, and a team to stick with for those next 4 years will be a very interesting situation. Last season, he spent the season on loan to Hull City, the English Premier League side, but he didn't get any playing time and only managed 2 goals. He was also the team's most expensive player, and they got relegated this season, and I can't see Jozy Altidore as a very expensive player for Hull City playing in a championship level side. Right now his future is really up in the air, and it's important for him to find a club right now where he can get consistent playing time and develop that striking ability, that finishing ability. A lot depends on him for the next World Cup, as he will be the player to look for. But most importantly, Michael Bradley, the coach's son, who I thought was easily, I think, maybe the team's best player, one of the best players for the U.S., will be 26. Now Bradley will probably move to the English Premier League sooner rather than later, and I'm really tipping him to be one of the top box-to-box midfielders in Europe as he goes forward. He's 22s right now, will be 26 in 2014, and he has tremendous potential as he showed during the World Cup. He's a great player, plays beyond his years. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of Michael Bradley in the English Premier League and playing against, or maybe for, I don't know, you never know, my side, Liverpool. Young and old, the 2014 will look very different. But looking young, I don't know if the US has the young players in the system right now, the 18, 17, the 19, 20-year-olds, to be effective in the 2014 World Cup. I just don't know if they have the prospects. Obviously, defense is an area that needs to be addressed. The US gave up goals in the first 10 minutes of 3 of their 4 games and only kept a clean sheet to Algeria, one of the tournament's worst teams. And the 2 goals given up against Ghana were just disgusting defensive mistakes, especially the first one, the second one in extra time where they got beat over the top by that ball. Just egregious defensive error. But if you look closely at the stats, the US only led for 3 minutes the entire World Cup. And that's due to shaky defense and lack of forward play, and as Bob Bradley said, obviously forward is a position that needs to be addressed going into the future. Every team, every great team, has the star striker that knows how to finish, knows how to put the ball in the back of the net when you don't think that the angle's right or he's not going to be able to. But right now our US forwards simply lack the technical ability and mettle to finish any chance at all. And that showed because the US didn't have a single striker score a goal in the entire tournament. Although the US has all the key soccernomics factors to become a top soccer nation, that is, a high population, vast economic resources, and decent international experience, we really lack the soccer culture in the US to develop top players. In fact, in the US, we do the exact opposite of what we do in Europe. Young boys as young as 5 years old join club teams to start training and developing their skills. They don't play many games. They just train, play maybe 1 game a week, maybe 1 game every 2 weeks, just train to develop their technical skills, which is the best way to develop soccer players. In the US, we do the complete opposite. Our kids have to pay thousands of dollars to play youth soccer. It's focused on winning, so they just play a ton of games and they hardly ever practice. And because they don't practice, they don't develop the technical ability to become great star soccer players. Also in the US, youth soccer players tend to not train to become professional soccer players, but to get that college scholarship, which is just terrible for developing great soccer players, because you have kids 18, 19, 20, 22 years old, players that are in the prime of their development playing in below amateur leagues in soccer, and hardly an environment indicative of professional success. So the US system right now is completely ass backwards in terms of developing top young soccer talent. Admittedly, that is changing now, with some MLS clubs slowly but surely developing youth academies to assure that players get European style training and coaching. But for that to really reach a massive scale like it is in Europe is going to take, in my mind, a couple decades, 1 or 2 decades. Think about this for a moment. The best American athletes are probably football and basketball players. They all have great speed, great strength, great stamina, and great jumping ability. All key physical factors in becoming a good soccer player. Also, these football and basketball players, they tend to come from poor to middle class working backgrounds, urban neighborhoods, and they tend to be minorities. We don't have poor athletic minorities playing soccer in the US, although the Hispanic population obviously does, which is very, very good for the U.S. soccer. Soccer is not culturally ingrained in poor and working class backgrounds, and it's also too expensive to play, which is very odd because all these poor African countries develop these Etos and the Drogbas of the world, and they play with ragdoll soccer balls and dirt fields. Structurally and culturally, the U.S. needs to change the way it develops youth soccer players. And that won't happen for at least another decade, probably longer, but the legacy of the 2010 team is very, very important. Americans now expect good things from our boys in blue and white, and expectations breeds performance. Right now, personally, I'm setting a benchmark for success at the 2030 World Cup. By then, guaranteed, we will have a top-class side. The academies will be in place, and we will have the youth soccer structure to compete with the top European countries of the world and the top South American countries of the world. So by then, 2030, mark my words, we will have a championship world-class American soccer team. So that's all for today over JLB Sports TV. If you have any suggestions to how the U.S. should develop structurally and develop youth soccer players, or if you know of any hot youth soccer prospects that are teenagers that may have an impact of the 2014 World Cup, leave a comment or video response below. So that's all for today of JLB Sports TV. I'm Justin Block, and I hope you like my shirt that I got for the tournament. Don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes. I thought it was a cool shirt. I'm gonna put some pictures up at the end of this video. Me and my friends watching the US-Ghana game. We painted our chests USA in Grand Central Station in New York City. It was kind of awkward because it was just 5 teenage boys with their shirts off, finger painting each other's chests. Kind of awkward. But a photographer from the AP took pictures of us, and you can see those on Yahoo News. So I'll put those pictures up. That's all for today over JLB. That's all for today over JLB Sports TV. I'm Justin Block, and whoever your team is in the World Cup, best wishes. That's all, guys.